Undisciplined. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Can't fucking do this? Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Oh my gosh, it worked. Welcome back, everyone, to the Coaches Show, a podcast where we like to discuss the mindsets, the techniques, the strategy and processes behind paintball coaching. And a lot of the time, the people who make this sport what it is. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of San Diego Dynasty. My co-host, Coach Ryan Gray of Red Legion, is traveling tonight and won't be able to join us. So he left me in charge of this. Hopefully it won't be a train wreck. So you're stuck with me for episode 67. Tonight, we tackled two topics. First, I will speak with the coach of the legendary and trailblazing team, the Femme Fatales, Mr. Daniel Lee. We'll learn a little about him, dive into his coaching methods and philosophies, as well as how he guided the ladies to their first event win in the WNXL. After that, I'm going to share a few thoughts on the upcoming European NXL, which kicks off this Friday in Portugal. I'll give my opinion on who to watch and who I think will take their bracket. And of course, I'll do our best to engage you, our audience, in the chat. Take it easy on the old man tonight, as I could sure use your help. So stay tuned as we jump into this episode of the Coaches Show. This episode is brought to you by Maxed Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or a regional league, contact Charles today for contingency details. Trust us, it'll be well worth your time to reach out. Remember, for all your custom paintball goods, and now some contingencies, get Maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it right here on the show. BKI, where you can quite literally learn from the best one-on-one. Hey, don't forget, if you'd like to support the show, we'd love to talk to you. We have pricing structure for 2025 that can fit all budgets. We'd love to keep this party going with you. So please contact Ryan throughout the social media channels or at ryan@coachesshow.live so we can discuss how we can partner with you. All right, everyone. Without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, Coach Dan Lee. Dan, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Appreciate it.
Man, we appreciate it. Anytime we have an opportunity, and you are talking about this in the green room a little bit, anytime we have a chance to talk to other coaches and get their insight and probe their minds a little bit, it's great for everybody. And it's a real honor to have all of y'all on whenever you guys can get on here. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, let's not waste any time here. Let's talk a little bit about you and let our audience know a little bit about you, your background. Let's help those get to know, what your career, how your career started, and ultimately what eventually landed you as the coach of the Femmes. You want to give us a little background?
Yeah, absolutely. I started playing paintball like mid 90s, early 90s, just kind of local stuff. And it just kind of got me, started playing for some local teams. And back then, and you hear a lot of people talk about it, like Southern California or like the meccas of paintball. And I think, late 90s, early 2000s, Southern California was one of the meccas of paintball. I remember going to SC Village all the time, and you'd see Ironmen, Bushwhackers, just a number of different teams out there. My personality, when I get into things, I tend to get completely into them. So started playing paintball back then, started playing with some local teams, ended up kind of getting a job in the industry to kind of help support myself and getting that idea of like, hey, I can start traveling to some events and actually working and playing and that sort of thing. It eventually led me to playing with a number of different teams out here. The first national team I played for, we used to have a series on the West Coast. Mainly it was called the Pan Am series. It was run by Dan Bonebreak he used to play on Avalanche. First national team I got on, I was actually playing for Dan. He was running the Pan Am series, and he had this idea he was going to put together an amateur team, which back in those days, for those that don't know, there was really only 4 divisions. There was rookie, novice, amateur, pro. He was going to put together an amateur team and see what he can, what we could do. We did that, played with him, had some success. Believe it was our first year, which was the second year of Huntington Beach when they put the turf out. We won the amateur division in that event, which was unbelievable. And then again, just being out here with all these pro teams and, seeing I remember when I was playing with a pump gun at SC Village, seeing some of the bushwhacker guys out there, whoa, what are these guys doing with all these crazy autocockers and all kinds of stuff? And then that's when I kind of took the plunge, hey, if I'm going to get into this, I want to get into it completely. Had the opportunity to play for Ron Kilborn for a number of years.
The bushwhacker.
Yeah. And if anybody knows, it's a lot of people came through that bushwhacker camp, more than most people really have an understanding of. Played with him for numerous years, got to travel around the country, got to leave, go play in Europe, all that kind of stuff. And then, life kind of catches up. It's time to get a real job, kind of, time to be an adult. So I actually, and it was a combination of things. My wife, Andrea Martinez, she actually first started playing with the Femmes back in the early 2000s. I want to say maybe the second year the Femmes were an organization. I don't think she was there the first year. So we were both playing. We were both, playing every weekend, traveling, doing all this kind of stuff. And then it was I decided hey, I need to kind of step back from this. We were talking about getting married and doing that sort of thing. She was getting ready to go into law school.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of stepped back for a couple years. I think it was her second year in law school or third. We kind of got pulled back into it a little bit. Some of our old friends from the Femmes were like, hey, we're going to go to this tournament. You guys should come. I mean, maybe even just hang out, or if you guys want to come play. So I think we went. I think that was a Huntington Beach event. One of the later, it was, when that event, I don't want to say it had a downfall, but it definitely dropped off a little bit. We went out there and checked that out. And then once that was over, Andrea finished law school. She passed the bar. She did all that stuff. We kind of started getting into it again. I played a little bit, but at that point, I was kind of helping coach more, or just, helping the team, kind of imparting some of the things that I had learned over the years playing paintball. And then just took kind of more of a coaching role or helping out and that sort of thing. Which led to my wife played with Destiny for a little bit. When she came back, she played with the Arabs Angels. I helped coach that team as well. And then it just kind of morphed into what it is today, right? We hooked back up with Tammy and Todd. We always joke because we've known Tammy and Todd for easily over 20 years. Tammy and Todd Adamson from Aftershock and the Femmes. We always joke because I remember when Andrew was on the Femmes originally, I remember being at an event and holding Tia when she was a baby. And I think I was holding her for so long while they were playing that when I went to give Tia back to Tammy after they kind of wrapped things up, I almost couldn't move my arm. Everything had just locked up and whatever. And I think she just celebrated her 21st birthday. So yeah, it was we've known them for a long time. And then leading into this version of the Femmes, back in, I believe it was 2018. It was kind of the first time I could recall, or I could be mistaken, but it was the first time that we were going to try and do a women's national team. There was going to be a tournament down in Panama. B. Youngs from Destiny kind of got wind of it, kind of put a team together, asked me to coach because I had helped coach Destiny some events prior to that. Went down to Panama, had a great time, won the event. And then the following year, it turned into B and Anthony Vitali from BKI started working together to kind of try and build the team in a, I don't want to say more legitimate way, but just kind of getting it out there for everybody, making it, a fair platform where everybody could come try out, kind of like what they did now. I know recently they did the U19 and U16 tryouts. That program's great. I mean, it really brings out the best players, and I mean, the track record for it's just amazing. And then just kind of being part of that, my wife Andrea she was on the first women's U.S. team. I believe that was 2019 when we played in the mud in Amsterdam.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it didn't go quite as like what we had expected, but it definitely led to some good things. And then Andrea's been part of the women's U.S. team for, I mean, basically ever since then in one form or another, either playing or helping coaching. And then me leading into the Femmes, like I've obviously been a part of it. Tammy and Todd, when they were going to secure that women's pro spot, they kind of gave us a heads up beforehand. We started putting feelers out with, who could we get and how could we do this? And I'm always there to help. I'm always there to help my friends, all that kind of stuff. I'm always going to support my wife.
Good man.
Yeah, thanks. And we the team's been around now for, I think this is the fourth year. This year I was asked by Tammy and Todd, like, hey, do you want to take the reins and coach the team? I said yes. I mean, Ken, our other coach that we have, he coached the team. He was like the head coach last year. We weren't 100% sure where he was going to be this year, if he could do it or not. We kind of worked it all out, and that's where we're at.
Outstanding. Well, it sounds like, first of all, obviously, storied Femme Fatales, the fact that, I don't feel like, because of the history of the Femme Fatales, you could have had a WNXL without having a Femme Fatales in it, right? And
absolutely.
So you've got this pedigree behind you, obviously, where you learned a lot of different techniques and concepts and ideas. So let's get into the coaching aspect of it. Now that we have a baseline for your background, and so here you are, you're now the head coach of the Femme Fatales. And by the way, your wife's in the chat. So welcome, Andrea. So, and by the way, Andrew Ornsby, great question. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Everyone, I'll introduce that question in just a second. It's a really good question. But let's get into that for just a minute. Let's talk about Tampa. Let's talk about preparation, right? What is a Femme Fatale practice like? How often are we practicing? What are we focusing on when we're there? Are we goal setting? What types of, do we have, SMART analysis? What are these different things? What are you doing? And how soon of a preparation does it start for you before you even get to the field with the girls?
I think it's a combination of things, right? I think me personally, like I've been involved in a lot of sports just outside of paintball and in general, like stuff like that, where I learned a long time ago that like you can have a coaching style, but it's true. And then this is my opinion. It's truly dependent on who you're coaching, right? Like some people take information certain ways, and you can talk to people differently. I mentioned this in a podcast recently. Like there's going to be some people that you can go and you can yell and scream at, and you can MF them and put them down and do all that stuff. And that's what they need. And they respond better to it. But you're also going to have people that the second you start doing that, the switch turns off and you've lost them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think one of the big things I think that's important in coaching is really understanding who you're dealing with and your players, their personalities and how things are going to get through to them in the best possible way. I think with our team, it's a little. We have a bunch of girls that have been together for a long time, or I don't want to say a long time. Monica, Tammy, Andrea, Tammy and Andrea have been on the Femme. I mean, it's Tammy's team. I mean, Tammy started the Femmes. Andrea was there probably the second year, I think. Monty's been on the team for a long time. They've all played together. There's other people that were part of that unfortunately things just life has gotten in the way, and it's never been the team that we've actually, I don't know how to say this, like Carla Andrade. Like she's a big part of the Femmes. But now she's a mom, she's, all that kind of stuff. So real life kind of gets in the way. I think we've been fortunate because we picked up a couple girls here locally in Southern California and these girls practice every weekend. Like there's not a weekend you can't go to SC Village and find Femmes on the field somewhere, playing with local teams, playing local tournaments. So having that core group of girls that really get along is great. I think in preparation for this event, it was a little weird. One of the issues I don't want to say issues is, but it's a factor that's tough for the Femmes, right? Right now we have 4 girls that live on the West Coast, mainly in Southern California. Tammy lives in Florida. Monica lives in New York. And then coming into this season, we picked up 3 of the girls from the Cheetahs. So Dallas, Lisette, and Casey. And they're all on the East Coast. So our team's basically kind of split. They've got 5 over there. We've got 4 over here, which does make things difficult because, I mean, it's hard to – I mean, as much as I would love to have everybody come together and practice, every weekend, once a month, that type of thing, it is hard. But we do our best. Like, we have great sponsors. SC Village is awesome. Tiki's out in Florida. Whenever we need to try and get together, we can get on a field. We can do all that kind of stuff. But leading into Tampa, it was a little interesting because we had 3 new girls that, I mean, honestly, other than seeing them play a little bit, like I remember seeing Lizette play. She actually came out to Extreme Rage in Florida when the WNXL first started, and she came to try out. And good, solid player, but just in our opinion, just wasn't ready. She was still very green and that sort of thing. And it would be great to be like, hey man, we'd love to have you be part of the organization, but there's not really that funding there. And we're not all local to Florida. So it is going to be a little bit hard. And she went and she did a good job. I mean, she put in the work. She got on the Cheetahs. Like I'd see her on the Cheetahs and be like, man, like we dropped the ball on that one. Like, I mean, it would have been great to have her this whole time, but it is what it is. You just gotta deal with it. To be honest, I didn't see Kate or Dallas play very much because I think the previous year she had kind of taken off, again, life stuff. Casey, I remember seeing her a little bit, but when we're at tournaments and we're trying to watch teams, I'm not really necessarily really concentrating on like, hey, I want to see how this girl, I'm looking for tendencies. Like, sure, where does she go? What does she do? Does she like to get in the snake and go all the way down to the other end? Does she like to stay here? So it's a little interesting, but a couple weeks before the layout dropped, we did all go to Texas. We had a practice at Giant Party Sports out there. Awesome field, great place. Aftershock was there as well. And I do think that's one of the advantages like a lot of our girls have is being involved with Aftershock and doing that stuff. If we're at the same places practicing, we stay out of their way. We let them do their thing. But it does help from a coach's perspective to be like, hey, let's go watch them. Like, look they're running into the same problems we're talking about, like communicating, doing all that. So it's not rocket science. Like it's just remember this stuff. So we got a really good idea of how they played. And I mean, and then talking about preparation, right? It's okay, going into layout practice. Like, I mean, I think I started really just going through all the scenarios in my head from after that first practice till the layout, where we could put people, how they were going to gel together. I mean, we were really fortunate. We had almost all the girls in Texas. We had one of our girls, Flash. She's a monster. She was getting ready for a bodybuilding contest, so she wasn't able to make it to Texas, but she was there at the layout practice. And all the girls gelled great. They were all willing and able to, do what was asked. It did throw them off a little bit because just my personal perspective, like when I'm getting used to meeting somebody new, meeting a new player. I mean, I always think it's funny because I ask this question almost just for fun. Like, where do you want to play? Where do you like to play? And I'll follow that up immediately with like, hey, don't tell me anywhere. Because if you tell me anywhere, like I'm gonna expect you to know what to do in like all these situations. Like, give me where do you like to play? And typically they'll give you an answer. And I think talking with the girls from that we picked up from the Cheetahs, it kind of, they all kind of had the same answer. And I was like, okay, well, you're not going to do any of that stuff today. I want to see what you do in the other spots, like where you're uncomfortable, because as well as I do, you could have a guy that's like, oh, I'm the one in the snake, and he could end up in the Dorito side at some point during a game. And if he doesn't know what to do or they're not comfortable, like what good does that do the team? It doesn't, in my opinion. So yeah, we put him in some uncomfortable situations at practice, did some stuff. And I think we got a good understanding of the layout. We had a great practice with the Heroines. It's great to have them as a sparring partner when you have, basically the best team in the WNXL, and you get to practice them for a weekend. And then going into the event, I think it's great because a lot of the teams are getting really good. Being part of the WNXL, I think early on, there were some teams that were a little higher level than others, and it was pretty apparent. But as the years have gone by, all of the teams are dangerous right now. And I love to see that, because I want all the teams to do well, because if all the teams do well, it makes for a better show. It's nobody wants to see. It's fun. It's fun when Dynasty goes on their runs and they win everything, but people don't want to see that all the time, right? Like, so.
Hey, listen, let me get through my first year coaching these guys before everyone tells us to stop going on runs. Okay, let's just get that out there real quick. I don't mean that. I want to unpack. You've said a lot there, and I want to unpack some things specifically for a lot of the divisional coaches that are watching right now. You talk about having this logistical issue. I've got 4 on the West Coast. I've got 5 on the East Coast. These are significant hurdles in order to prepare as best we can for an event. So what are some of the things you do as a coach to, okay, you can't get them together on a weekend all together. Are you maybe asking, the 4 in California and the 5 in the East Coast to run certain drills? Are you tracking them in any way? Are you having Zoom calls? What are some of the things that you're doing to close that gap of other teams that do have the capability to be together or in the same area and can get together more often?
We do try and get, again, not saying that we can't do it, but when we do have the girls, and in previous years, we've had the girls come out to California, or we do try and meet up, and then we do try and be as efficient as possible in what we're trying to achieve. My big thing in going into this year, as of right now, even earlier today, we're sending some messages trying to see if we can get people out here or where we can go. And we've done some Zoom calls, and I think this season we're kind of early in that process of just really trying to figure it out. We are kind of fortunate that our next event isn't until Cincinnati, so we do have some time.
That's right.
But one of the things that I asked, like all the girls leaving Tampa, especially the ones on the East Coast, is obviously make sure you're playing. And we gave them some specific things to work on as far as communication, as far as like, hey, being uncomfortable. Like I hate to see team, like I don't want the girls just going out, putting on their gear, running through some points and going home. Like, make yourself uncomfortable. Like, if in your mind, like, I don't know how many times, and I'm more on the divisional side, you'll hear people, or you talk to people and be like, hey, why didn't you do that? Oh, well, I was thinking that, but, and it's like, well, no, if you're practicing, get that out of your head. Just try it. Mm-hmm. Try it and see if it works. And then, because then you're going to start trusting that little inner voice inside your head that goes like, hey, maybe you should go.
Right.
And
I was going to piggyback on that a little bit. I was just going to take it a little bit further. Do you, as a coach, and those of you who are listening, maybe divisional coaches out there, chime on in the in the chat, do you try to give an individual assessment to your players, like after a practice or after an event? Do you send an individual assessment saying, hey, I want you to be working on this, something that no one else on the team sees? It's not public. It's just something between you and the player. Say, hey, this is what I want you to work on, or hey, this is something I noticed, or hey, you did really good with this. Let's really try and shore that up. Do you do individual assessments for the players?
I try to, yeah. And I do. Again, with the Femmes, it's a little bit different, obviously, dealing with the girls on the East Coast. Because real life does get in the way. And I think I need to do a better job of that. I do help a divisional team out here, and I will do that a lot with those guys. I mean, just because being face to face, and especially with our girls on our team that are out here, I'll pull them aside and be like, hey man, like, this is my assessment. This is where I think we need to get better. And and then on top of that, trying to come up with a game plan, working with the person to like, hey, this is how we're going to implement this. And this is how we're going to try and help your skills improve in those areas.
Excellent. Excellent. So back onto the preparation perspective, you have a great advantage having, Todd and the Aftershock crew there. And obviously you see how they play a layout in instances. And I'm sure that those girls are talking to the other players who may be playing their position. Hey, why are you playing it this way? What are some advantages here? These types of things. So with that type of preparation and perspective and assets, right? How do you go about leveraging your players on a layout? Do you sit there and just, hey, I think looking at the layout as a coach, I think I'm going to play so-and-so over here. Do you have dedicated players, specialists, or are you basically letting the ladies get comfortable in specific roles based off the layout?
I think we have a combination of both. Okay. I think we have players on our team that are very well-rounded and could be, if for lack of a better term, like a snake specialist, but are flexible enough and good enough to where, like, if we have to put them in a different spot, we can, which I think is huge. Like, I think in years previous to this year, we got, just with the personnel and that sort of thing, we were kind of lacking in some areas, and I think it kind of showed in important times. I think we've gotten much more well-rounded now. And I think some of the girls on the West Coast are so used to just kind of playing everywhere. They're just getting better and better at it. So it's not like, if Femmes have always been, I think, have this, I don't know, people expect us to do crazy stuff. Like, because we've done it before and we've tried it, like going to their side of the field or doing some kind of silly things that maybe you don't typically see on the WNXL stage. And I think the thing that's great is there's no hesitation with it, right? Like, if we're like, hey, we want you to go to their whatever.
They bought in.
Yeah, they're in. They're like, okay, we'll try it. Let's go. So I don't think, but part of that too is when we do play a layout and you have the girls play everywhere, I do want to know, like, hey, even in this point now, at this point, where are you more comfortable? Like, what do you like to play? What do what are you feeling? Right? Because I think it's important that, like, hey, if you feel really good on the Dorito sides, I want that, because I do think the mental side of things in paintball or sports in general are just a huge part that people don't really pay attention to. I think if you go onto the field with the idea in your head that, like, oh man, I wasn't playing this very well at practice, like, you're going to go out there and you're not going to perform as well. Like, I think you need to go out there with like, hey, I know what I'm doing. This is where I want to go. This is what I'm going to do. And here we go. I think the mental part's a huge thing.
Oh, 100%. There have been instances in my coaching career where I've worked with a player in a specific position because they brought they had a certain skill set that fit that role very, very well. And then we get to the event and they're like, well, I don't want to play there. I didn't like playing there. and they're already defeated before and you're like, well, where was this at why wasn't any of this said or done, at practice? So it can be frustrating, I'm sure. So making sure you head that off at the pass before you even get to the practice makes a lot of sense. So good stuff there. Let's do this. Let's hop into the event a little bit. I mean, this particular layout I thought was a fascinating layout, right? You could get stung from anywhere, right? You had no visual acuity in the snake, right? You didn't really have a lot of visual acuity in the Doritos. That center was a lot stronger than I think most people understood.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could get stung from a lot of different ways. And you use the center to create opportunities to do things on the wides, right? So all that being said, did you have a specific approach to this layout? Is there something you really wanted to focus on because of a strength of the Femmes? Or were you trying to play it similarly to other teams? Did you see anything that your team was doing different than the other teams than WNXL?
Well, to start, I mean, going into practice and seeing how the field was playing, and then obviously, again, like we practiced the heroines. I mean, I think the layout itself and looking back at the video and the games, like you knew there were teams were going to take certain bunkers almost every time. And then it was just kind of a roll of the dice, right? Like, are you going to try and take a big bite on the Dorito side? Are you going to try and get into the snake? If you do get in the snake, what are you doing? Are you like full blast straight up to the 50 or their side of the field? Or are you trying to play it slow? Or are you trying to trap people? I think the center played really good. It was really so many bounce shots and so much weird stuff. It was definitely something that you had to take into consideration. But I do also think, like, if you got into like that right wing or that left wing in that center structure, you could lock down the side of the field and it would be really hard for the other team to fill out. I know we made some adjustments going into Sunday because we noticed, or between myself and Ken, we noticed, a lot of people playing that kind of void on the snake side, kind of stepping out, shooting, that sort of thing, and then kind of slowly making their way. And I think one of the things we tried to do a little bit more on Sunday was tried to get out wide quick and trap them. And then, it started to become a thing where, like, hey, if you could keep them in that home bunker or that, like what we called the big temple on the snake side, even if they're pumping that lane, like you could get to a point where like you couldn't really see the entry into the snake. So if we could get out wide and keep them in, we could slip somebody into the snake without anybody seeing them. And then, like we tell the girls, I mean, again, get down into there into the field and, start going to work. I think the Dorito side was really, like you said, you could sting people anywhere on that field. The Dorito side was a little bit harder to get out to. But if you did get out there, you could have a lot of success. It just kind of depended on kind of what was going on in the middle. And I think one of the things that we really did well was shooting off the break. Like, even the practices before the layout practice before, and even going into the event, like we had some really good shots shooting the Dorito side off the break, which is always good to kind of, get that advantage and take advantage of it. And I mean, yeah, we definitely kind of adjusted things on Sunday a little bit, which I do think really led to a lot of success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit the ground running day one, mercying the newest WNXL team, the Baltimore Nevermores.
Mm-hmm.
Then you hand the Northern Lights one of their 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
What are you telling the ladies at the beginning of the day, and what are you telling them at the end of the first day?
I mean, I think we're just trying to get as much information as we can. I mean, it's what's working, what wasn't working, what are they seeing on the field, like that might be an issue leading into the next matches. We're definitely we're trying to keep them very level, right? Like, it's great to go out and win your first 2 matches, but hey, there's still a lot of work to be done. And we did a good job of kind of reviewing things, like, again, going over what was working, going over some of the things that weren't, and just coming up with ways to, or ideas, getting a feel for like what the players' attitudes or feelings were, how they were playing, what they could do better. And then just coming up with, a better plan for Saturday.
Yeah.
I guess.
So what is that process? So let's do this again for our pledging coaches out there or other teams out there. What does that process look like? You finished your game for the day. Are you sticking around? Are the team sticking around scouting other teams? And then do you go home? And then what do? Do you watch tape together? Do you have dinner and watch tape together? And when you're watching tape, are you pausing and talking about points? Are you watching your own matches and seeing ways that you can improve? Or are you watching the next day's opponent's matches to try and get a read on what they're doing and how you're going to counter them?
I think it's a combination of everything. We try and stick around. I mean, because obviously, but I mean, it is a little with the WNXL. Like when we were split deck with the teams in our bracket. So not only are you trying to coach and you're trying to figure things out, but also trying to watch the other team that's playing in between your points, which is really hard for a coach. But like we have a great staff of people, like all of our pit crew people, all the husbands, boyfriends, everybody else that's part of the Femmes family do a great job. Typically with that going on, we'll try and, depending on the time of the day, go get cleaned up. We'll definitely try and meet back at the hotel, try and watch our games, try and go over the games of our opponents, see what their tendencies are, that sort of thing. Having meetings again and just being open, right? Like we just want all the information that we can get.
Right.
Like if, hey man, like I really was doing this, or like, hey, what happened that point? Oh, I slipped. Okay, cool. Like we just review it. Like, I mean, like, hey, why did we get that penalty? That sort of thing. Just trying to tighten those things up and just better prepare for the following day. I mean, obviously watching film with the teams that are, that we're playing the following day. Again, it's great being part of the Aftershock camp, because this event was a little different, but like after the first night, we went over to the Aftershock house,
Right.
sat in on some of their meetings, like got to pick Todd and Martinez's brain a little bit on like some of the things that maybe they saw or that like we need to watch out for. It's hard. There are a lot of advantages to that, but there are also some disadvantages.
It can be overwhelming, I'd imagine.
Exactly.
Right. There's a lot of data coming.
A lot of data. And then, I mean, honestly, it's a little hard sometimes when like we're trying to figure out, it's hard enough to try and go find somewhere to eat with 10 people than it is with 30 people. So
there's so many jokes that could be made about this that I'd get myself in trouble.
But
I really would. But, but I do want to make a point real quick to everyone listening in, to all our listeners. I want you to pay attention to the fact that he talked about how he has a staff, that he has a pit crew, that he has scouts, that he has every team that you've seen that has won an event. Usually their support personnel plays a major role in that. So don't overlook it. Don't overlook it. Have a good staff, have a good pit crew, have a good, scouting system. Have this stuff thought about well before the event. Have it done in advance. By the way, Shelda, I want to throw this out there. Coaches have to wear so many hats. I don't think people realize how much they have to do. And the reason I bring that up, great point, Shelda, because Dan, I want to get your opinion on this. There was another question asked by Andrew Ormsby. He said, should a person have a certain amount of success as a player before transitioning into coaching? And I thought you would be a great one. I want to get your perspective on this. And the reason why is because I played for 30 years. I was a player coach for a long time after my first initial engage. And then I eventually stepped away from playing, got into coaching. Now I didn't stop playing. Matter of fact, I still play today at 52, and I'm probably still going to continue to play as long as I can. But do you feel, I'll just let you take Andrew's question here and take your first stab at it, and then I'll give mine as well.
To me, that's kind of a tricky question. I mean, I think it helps. Yeah. I think if to be a good coach, you do have to have some experience, like not only just watching paintball, seeing paintball, but actually playing it, knowing what it feels like to be in that situation, what the pressure's like, or, just the feelings involved in it. Do I think you have to be like I don't think you have to be an ex-pro, right? I think if you have good relationships and if you're open to learning from other coaches, right? Like seeing what they're doing, seeing what they're talking about, seeing how they deal with things. I think you can be a good coach without having a ton of a good paintball coach without having a ton of experience, because honestly, a lot of this game is mental. Like there are certain physical aspects, right? Like they're fast players, slow players, good snap shooting, that sort of thing. And those are things that you can work on.
Mm-hmm.
But a majority of this game is in your head.
Yeah.
Like, and if you can help somebody clear all the stuff out of their head and come up with a good plan, and not only for one person, but a whole team. You have to have everybody buy in to what you're trying to do as a coach to be successful.
There's the buy-in, right? The coach, in my opinion, is the one who creates that culture. He sets that culture. And so I'm going to key in on something that he says here in his question. He says, should a person have a certain amount of success as a player before transitioning into coaching? I'm with Dan here. I don't think you have to have a bunch of wins under your belt to be a successful or good coach. And the other question is, you need to ask yourself what type of coach you want to be. And I don't think a lot of people think about this. I written a couple of articles on it actually on my blog. There are coaches who are more managers. They manage the talent. They herd the cats. They handle the logistics. They tell everybody where to be. They set an agenda, and then they let the team do what the team needs to do. So in other words, they remove distraction so that the players can focus on being great paintball players. Then there's those motivating guys, the guys who are like the pump up, the giant cheerleader, the guy who's able to extrapolate, to pull out of a player a great performance by having the right words and understanding the mental aspect, understanding how that player ticks, and is able to pull a great performance out of them. Then there's the X's and O's coach, right? The guy who can sit there and come up with the game plans and think fast on his feet. And, hey, well, they did this, so we need to counter with this. We need to, if A, then B. Then there's those coaches that can do 2 of those things or 3 of those things or all of those things. And the question is, really, it depends on what kind of coach you want to be. And I think the different divisions require different type of coaching, right? There's the tactical and the strategic. There's the psychological and the communicative. So there's all these different aspects of the game. So I'm glad that came out. Great question. And thanks for kicking that off right there, Shelda. So, all right, Dan, back into the Femmes here. So we've talked about your preparation. We talked about that day one. We talked about what you did after day one. So I just want to clarify one last thing. So as a coach, it sounds like you have a lot of help after the end of, like, heading into the event, when you're at the event, after day one, you've got a lot of insight, right? You've got a lot of assets and a lot of things so now that all the meetings have taken place, all these things are done, what are you doing now that everybody's had the meeting? What are you doing? Is there anything extra, or are you done? Are you doing it while you're all meeting and you're taking your notes and you're doing all your
No, there will be times, and you can ask the girls and you can ask my wife and all this kind of stuff. At some point, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to go off by myself and just kind of go through, all the information that we've gathered and really try and come up with an idea of how we can be successful in the next match and against who we're playing. And, like with this too, and again, having the support staff, and then also having, like, my friend Ken, who's also a coach on the Femmes. Mm-hmm. Me and Ken played pro together on the Bushwhackers for many years. We played together. Like, he was in front of me, he was across the field. We played a lot of paintball together, and we have a very similar mindset. We have a very similar idea of things that we can do, things that we can try. I mean, I find it hilarious because, like, it happened at Tampa on a couple different occasions where we're sitting there watching a different game, and we both kind of like look at each other, and I either go, "Hey, Ken, like, this is what I was thinking," and he can almost tell me like what I was thinking. Like, "Hey, how about we try and go do this off the break?" And he's like, "Man, I was just thinking that." Like, "Okay, let's figure it out." So we'll go through some of that stuff and try and work on plans and come up with different things. And then really it's just after that, knowing that like, hey, we've got the girls, we know they're going to buy into it. Like, we're not going to have any pushback on any ideas. It does make it a little bit easier. Then it's like, okay, let's go to bed and let's come up with the plan for tomorrow. This is what time we're going to go to the field. This is what time I want everybody to get together beforehand. And then we start going through some of those concepts and getting some feedback. From what people saw the previous day, and just start coming up with a plan.
I like it. All right. So day 2, we come out and you take your first loss to Dallas Vibe, but you come back with a solid 5-2 win against Suricatos, which, if my Spanish is any good, Arturo's trying to teach me right now. I think means meerkat. Anyway, I don't know why I went off on that. It does. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I kind of looked that up earlier because I wanted to know. Were you making adjustments or just reiterating processes that need to happen for each play? In other words, you're like, hey, look, in the Dallas Vibe match, were we adjusting anything? Were we adapting anything? Or were we just basically saying, hey, no, the play call's good, we're just not executing well? What do you think that was?
I think it was, we made some mistakes and not taking anything against Vibe. Like we always have tough matches with them. Like it's just ever since the WNXL started, like it's always just been a thing. Like, I mean, I think we can, if anybody went and looked back, it would always be like, and they've gotten the better of us, but like we've gone to overtime. I know a couple times. We've got some wins against them, but it's never been blowouts. It's like 4-3, 5-4, that sort of thing. And I think it was just more kind of mistakes, maybe a little bit, the high of being 2-0 going into that match and just, kind of needed to get humbled a little bit. Like, hey, we got to focus in and, I don't necessarily care to run through the prelims and just smash everybody because then it doesn't, it's great, but at the same time, you haven't faced any adversity, right? Like it's just, I kind of like to see that, right? So taking the loss there, yeah, little disappointing. I know we had a couple penalties, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't fix. And I don't think any of the girls were really worried about it. We did some scouting against the Suricatos. They gave us a completely different look than what they were showing anybody else leading up to that game. So we did have to immediately make some adjustments there, but I think we made the right adjustments and had some success that one for sure.
Excellent. And that's the thing, right? Having to adapt on the fly. We had talked earlier about styles and coaching styles, and something that I'm a firm believer. A lot of people know that I love this guy right here, Bruce Lee. And he always talked about how, once you say, hey, this is my style, you've now limited yourself.
Yep.
And so the beauty of the fact that, hey, they showed us something we had not seen at all, and you were able to adapt and adjust and still come out with the win. That's fantastic, right? That's adaptation, right? Adapt or die. And I believe that is one of the key components of being a solid coach. So congratulations. Well done on that.
Thank you.
All right. So here we go. Now we're heading into Sunday.
Yep.
And it gets kind of interesting here. Now you pull the Heroines. You beat a dominant Heroines team who had outscored their opponents 17-2 in the prelims. And you took them to a 9-point war. So walk me through that one. Like, how are you preparing for the Heroines? Here we go with adjustments again. What are we doing? What's that talk? What's that thought process for you? What's the talks you're having with the ladies? What's the game plan heading into the Heroines match, coming out on top 5-4?
I think one of the things that we were looking at, again, obviously looking at how they were playing, we did have the opportunity to practice them. And I don't think that's an advantage or everybody, you know what you're getting. I think if anything, it's more of an advantage because it's like, hey, it's just them. Like we practiced them all weekend last weekend. Like it's not, they don't have the dynasty magic. Like we're playing dynasty, right? Like, But we did notice some things that they were doing, and this was when we were like, okay, we're going to change things up a little bit and kind of give them a different look than what I know we gave them the weekend before. We started to try and get, like I mentioned earlier, trying to get a little bit wider, faster, kind of try and trap them in the inside, knowing some of their tendencies or kind of what they were doing or how certain people played. I mean, even looking at that match, there were a ton of penalties. I know there was a lot of points scored, but there were penalties on both sides. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened, and it ended in a really weird way.
I understand there was there's some controversy there.
Yeah, and this is my opinion, and this is, and I'm not going to touch on anything specifically,
Sure.
right? This is just paintball. And anybody that's played paintball knows, or you've played in enough tournaments, you know, sometimes calls are made, some they're good, sometimes they're bad. And it's unfortunate, right? Like, you know, you're going to see people like, oh, I got a penalty. You might see somebody get a penalty for nothing, or you might see somebody get a legitimate penalty. And it's part of paintball, right? Like we kind of joked, and it's like over the seasons, there I don't know if I should. When's the fuckery going to happen? Like, what's going to happen that like is going to?
Where's my beep button?
Sorry.
Don't worry. I get on to Ryan about it all the time. It's all good. Continue. This is good. When's the messed up stuff going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. And how's it going to work? Right. I mean, there are times like, and I'll give a perfect example, and the people that were there saw it, but I mean, like, there was a point there towards the end where a referee made a call. Another referee called Tata out. Hey, she's hit. The other referee on the ground was like, no, you're clean. For the head referee that was on the tower was the one that initially made the call that he saw the ball hit her and that she was out. And then she turned and shot Tammy or whatever it was. As we're sitting there, and this is the other thing I would definitely suggest to everybody, go look at the rule book. Like it's very, I mean, if a ref calls you out, like you're out. Like it's, I hate to say it. Like I've been on the opposite side of that. Like ref calls somebody out and you're like, well, where are they even hit? And they're like, oh geez. Like referees are people, they make mistakes. I don't know. I didn't see it. I was more paying attention to, like, I saw the flag go in the air and I immediately looked at our girl that was still alive, and I knew that the heroines had one more girl. And I'm like, okay, well, that penalty pulls her. Our girl's still alive. And okay, that all goes down. There's a huge argument, all the kind of stuff. And fortunately, it went in our favor. The thing that I think the thing that a lot of people won't take from that is the point before. We had one, our girl Roxy was down in their end of the snake. A ref runs in, calls her clean. She gets in a bit of an engagement, goes further down to their side of the field, and I remember seeing the ref was rewatching the video. At one point, she leans up against the bunker in the snake and then goes into their side of the field. Another ref runs in and calls her out and throws a penalty. And I'm like, your ref just called her clean. She clearly leaned up against this bunker. And it's just one of those, like, I was thinking, like, okay, well, here's the fuckery. Like, this is where it's going to start, right? Fortunately, it worked out, right? Like, I hate that. I love the fact that we won. I love all the heroines. I love Anthony. I love all that organization. Like, I've known those girls for a long time. I little bit of a bad taste. I don't like to see it like that, where there's that huge controversy and there's, you know, we probably sat there for 30 minutes, like, trying to figure out the call. But I think ultimately in the end, the call was correct. And that's just kind of how it goes.
Well, and also you can't sit there, no matter what side of the fence you're on, you can't sit there and argue the fact that, okay, there was a lot of penalties that match, according to you. And it was a 4-4 match. Mm-hmm. So what happened for those points that you could have done better to make sure that it didn't come down to something like that?
Exactly.
Like you can't sit there and put it on that one one
Exactly.
point. You have to look at the entire match as a whole. So anyway, that being said, so now let's talk about that from a coaching perspective. By the way, real quick, I have to make a comment here. Paintball with Compassion asks, so what are we talking about, boys? And I said, well, we're not talking about the boys. We're talking about the girls. So we're talking about the WNXL semifinals, where you beat the heroines, where the Femme Fatales beat the heroines. Now, you've just come off this controversial call. You've now been in this situation where there's a 30-minute wait or something like that. And now you've won. So now there's this elation, right? But work's not done. You still have one more match. You still have the finals. So what are you as a coach? Are you tracking all your players, understanding where they are mentally? And are you trying to get that under control and get them refocused and repurposed for the final match? And once you've done that, what's the game plan going in against the New Jersey High Rollers?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was complete chaos because that match finally ended, and I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what time it was. I was just like, okay, cool, we're going to the finals, and then Chris Rail walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, you guys got to get to the field right now," and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I looked at my clock and I remember looking. I can't remember exactly what time. I remember seeing that like the women's pro final was supposed to start at say 3:00 or 3:30 or whatever that time was. And I remember looking at my clock going like, oh my gosh, it's going to start right now. Like, well, they have to give us time to get over there. And it was just a quick, and again, big shout out to the pit crew. Just, we kind of got everybody together and like, hey, girls, like we have no time to wait. Like go straight to the pro field. Like we gotta get everything set up over there and let's go. I mean, fortunately, Billy Sharansky was there. Like, we love GI. We didn't have to go run and get any paint tickets. Like, I was like, Billy, can we get some paint right now? And just, we'll go do whatever we need to do. Yeah, absolutely. So we just went straight over there, tried to get everybody together. It was really strange because, like, we got over there and it was all kind of a blur, right? And then it was just trying to like, okay, hey, let's focus back up. We to be honest, we didn't really scout the high rollers very much at all. And that's on me. That's on like 100% for sure. But just kind of get the girls to buy in like, hey, what we're doing is working. Let's just keep doing it. Like, keep that same mindset. Like, let's go. And the girls went out and did a great job. They played under control. They played as a team. And it just kind of all came together. I do think, in looking back on it, I would be interested to see, or I almost feel like because we had to go straight into it, we had a bit of an advantage. The high rollers,
you never came down from that last match.
Exactly.
Still...
Like there was no time to like go walk around or people coming up to you like, hey, go get them or good luck or anything. It was literally like, hey, we're still in work mode. Let's go. I know the high rollers played in that same split deck with us in the semifinals, but I believe, if I remember right, their match was done pretty early because I think the last few points we had with the heroines, we were in X ball. So they did have that time to go. And I mean, who's to say? I think it probably helped, to be honest, just to be able to like go right into the next match, keep all the outside noise out and just kind of focus on what we were doing.
No. So here we are. We're in the finals. We're playing the New Jersey High Rollers. I had a chance to watch. I stayed up late last night before I went to bed and go to work this morning, and I watched the match. And I made a couple of notes. Obviously, that first point, Tammy saves it. Tammy saves that point, taking advantage of the Rollers' mistake. I'm not sure if you've noticed it, but the D tower comes off job.
Mm-hmm.
And doing the same job as the Dorito side tower, right? So the Hertz tower and the Dorito side tower are all really focused on your Dorito player who had made a bump. And Tammy says, well, I'm just going to go all the way here to the 50 and I'm just going to get the drop on everybody. And, and I loved it because earlier you were talking about, snake players, hey, pushing go to their side of the snake, be aggressive, do that. And your snake player did that very well. Although she at that first point, she missed that first shot on that Hertz player, and then went forward. I was like, wow. I mean, got a bigger pair than some guys I know, but I shouldn't have said that. That was terrible. Anyway,
okay,
forgive me. I'll go to confession for that one. But long story short, that first point was chaotic, and congratulations to Tammy for pulling that off. Point two, I got to say a name, Heather Grosinger. That girl ends up winning a 3-on-1. She was in the center. She catches the snake player who didn't know she was there, then turns around and catches another one on engagement, and then wins the 1-on-1. Well done. Incredibly impressive. So now you're up 2-0. What's the conversation now? Because honestly, you shouldn't have won those first two. They were kind of chaotic a little bit. Well, the first point, you're kind of in control, but that second point probably shouldn't have won, right? So what's the conversation there?
I think we kind of talk to the girls about that as well. Like, hey, like we got to tighten things up, right? Like this isn't, we're definitely getting lucky on some of these things, and it's just kind of going in our direction. But again, just trying to keep everybody focused and make sure everybody's just on the same page and kind of what we're trying to do. We didn't really get too far in depth with anything. It was just like kind of looking at what they were doing and seeing what we could do and how we could do it better. Right. Like, again, like, hey, let's not miss those shots when we get in the snake. Like, that sort of thing. Just slow things down a little bit. I mean, it is, you go up a couple points, you do have that opportunity to like not slow things down in the sense that like, hey, we're trying to grind this out and like run out of time, but just, hey, take that extra breath before you're going to come out and make that shot on that person, and just, get back to the basics. Like, you guys know what you're doing.
Right. There you go. Now I will skip over point 4. The New Jersey Rollers can't get 5 to the box. They don't get 5 to the box. So you're on a power play.
Yeah.
Right. And it seemed like we had a little bit of trouble with the body because they started, I guess they didn't get 5 to the box. It felt like the girls didn't know the count during the mid-game scramble. And they're trying to find that body. They're trying to understand that situation. Hey, we know where this person is. Where's that other person? Because we never saw a third leave because there was only 2 that had left because they only got 4 on the box. Was that the situation? Is that why they had a little trouble closing that point out?
Yeah, a little bit, for sure.
That makes sense. I got to throw another name out there for point 5, Barnes, winning that 1-on-1 when they started to do the merry-go-round. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then she finds her and just dots that I. She knows it. She's feeling it. And then she runs it in. It was good stuff. I'm sure she was fired up. What did you say anything to her when she came into as a coach, when a player pulls something off? Like, what do you say to her?
I mean, just good job. Like, way to play. Like, I mean, to be honest, like from the pit, like I knew she was alive. I knew it was a 1-on-1, but it was really hard to see exactly what was going on. And to be honest, like I'm standing there with Ken. We can't see it, but we hear everybody go crazy. Like, we're like, okay, we know one of them got shot. Like, and then it was just a relief to see her just flash onto their side, like running down to their side to hit the buzzer, to be honest.
Oh, like, look at this. Nah, we knew the count. Well, let's go back and I think you should watch the point with your coach in right. Or maybe they were listening to you at that point. Right. And they're like, you're saying, hey, slow it down. There's no need to be running down these people and doing all this stuff. We're up by points. So maybe she's got a very legitimate point. Yeah. Thank you, Gizmo TC21.
I think that's Heather.
Is it? Is it? Heather, yeah. I love it. Get in there, man. Put it straight. Set it straight. So, basically the final point, 55 seconds, the girls go out there, they do what you do, and you end up winning the event. I believe it was 5-1. Congratulations. Well done. So what's next? So obviously we've got some downtime. WNXL only plays 3 of the 5 events. The next one will be, I believe, Cincinnati for you guys. Mm-hmm. So what are the Femme Fatales going to be doing for the next several months? And what are your expectations heading into the next event? Are you calling it, hey, we're a Sunday team again, and here we come, we're winning the next one? What are we calling here?
I think just individually, like I said, we're the 4 girls out in California play all the time. And I know our girls on the East Coast play all the time. right now we're in the process of trying to figure out a practice for this month and next month, where we're going to get a majority of the girls together. And then I think, I think the plan's going to be, we're going to be in Chicago for the layout practice again with the shot camp out there at Badlands. That's another one of our home fields. And then, just kind of do as much work as we can, try and work individually, trying to make sure everybody's playing together, getting the Florida girls and the East Coast girls all together, playing with each other, and just do everything we can to be ready for Cincinnati.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions that we ask every coach, and the first time we have them on. 1, what is your favorite drill? And then 2, what's the best advice you have for other coaches out there? Let's start with the favorite drill.
Favorite drill. I really like one-on-ones. I like girls to play one-on-one, or not girl, just everybody. Because it, and I don't want to see you play one-on-ones like, hey, you get to this bunker, I get to that bunker, and we just start shooting at each other until somebody snaps somebody out. Like, those are the opportunities. Like, learn how to move, learn how to use your gun as a shield, learn how to get sneaky, make the bad mistake of diving into the snake in a one-on-one and trying to play a one-on-one from your stomach. That's
a bad mistake.
Yeah. I mean, just learn those things. I really think one-on-ones, because again, like it's a combination, I think, of drills, right? Like it's movement, it's snap shooting, it's using your brain, like that sort of thing, trying to outsmart somebody. And I kind of like, we used to do this is from the bushwhacker days. Like we called it like the flinch drill. Like, don't flinch when you get shot. And not trying to promote anything, but it's a big, you see somebody twitch, the ref's eyes are on you instantly.
Yeah.
But that's more of an old school thing. So
yeah, no, I understand the old school thing. Your wife's in here again. She says, Andrea Martinez, she says, in the pit, in the finals, it was a lot of bringing back to a big theme we had for the event. The idea of sticking with things and finding a way, being resilient no matter what, find a way. Well put. I like it.
And then what was the second part?
Oh, the second question was, what good advice would you have? What if you had one piece of advice to give to a fledgling coach, what would it be?
I again, and this is just going back to, like, you really have to understand your players, right? And how they're going to absorb information. I think that's truly the biggest thing. Like, I see a lot of teams, I see a lot of coaches that like to be like rah, like yelling and screaming and doing all this kind of stuff. And I see teams that truly think like, oh, well, we could just go get any coach and it's going to help us. Well, I don't think so. Like, I think you have to find the right coach. Like, you have to find the right coach that fits into the organization, that truly cares about like people and your success and that sort of thing. So, like, if you're going to be a coach, put everything you have into it. Don't just go. I mean, I think it, I don't know who's making money or doing anything like that, but like, if you're going just to collect money from a bunch of guys that want you to yell at them for a couple hours every weekend, you're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, that's so true. It's very true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I played for Ron Kilborn. Ron, his famous saying was, "The squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease; the squeaky wheel gets replaced."
That's right.
Like,
that's
being out here in Southern California, like Mike Hinman, I have a ton of respect for that dude. He really knows what he's doing. Great coach, great developer of players, very distinct way of dealing with players. And not saying that it's bad, not saying one's bad, one's good, anything, but it takes a very special person to be able to take that feedback and use it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the things for me personally, and I guess this is another suggestion for coaches, right? Having the opportunity to be around Team USA, having the opportunity to be around Aftershock, some of these other organizations, like I'll be the first one to say it. Last year in France, when you were there
Yes,
and
sir.
Ryan was there,
Mhm.
I loved watching you guys do your thing, but I was definitely in the background, like just listening. Like I want to know what Coach Bianca, like I want to know how he deals with things, how he tells his players, how he communicates things, and I want to know how Coach Gray does the same thing. And I'll sit there and like
Two completely different things. I'm sure
and
you've
yeah, for
noticed.
those of you guys that don't know, like it's to me it's completely different.
Yeah.
But the underlying thing with all of that and what I've seen with all the coaches that I've had the opportunity to be around or to learn things from or just to hear how their process works, when you really break it down, we're almost all saying the same thing,
Yeah.
just in slightly different ways.
It's our communication styles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Any sponsors you want to shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, the Femmes have great sponsors: JT, GI, Planet Eclipse, G1, SC Village, Tiki's, Badlands. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. Personal shout out to the guys over at Twister.
Oh, they're great.
They're awesome. Yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Well, Dan, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your evening and away from your lovely bride, Andrea, and spending some time with us and giving your insight into how you coach the Femme Fatales. Congratulations on your first place. We'll be looking forward to more from the Femmes coming up here in Cincinnati. And it was great making your acquaintance. I look forward to speaking to you some more. And let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And hey, if there isn't anything else out there in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and let Dan go. And we're going to move into this process where they're going to be stuck with me down now as I give my inept assessment of the NXL Europe event coming up. So you have a lovely evening, sir, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. And I'll probably see you out here now that you're with Dynasty, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Awesome.
I'm actually going to miss the next practice out in San Diego, but I'll be right back in the next one.
Sounds good, man. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. God bless. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Oh, I can't. That was fun. That was a good time. I hope thank you for the participation in there. It sounds like we had a lot of femmes in there as well. Thank you. We appreciate that, ladies. Well done. Congratulations to you all. And awesome. So I'm trying to do this show here without my boy Ryan. I'm kind of just winging it. So we did promise that we'd talk about the upcoming European NXL event. So before I sign off tonight, I wanted to comment on that, right? I want to talk about the Portugal Invitational, which is this weekend, April 11th through 13th. Okay. Now, here's why this should be of interest to my American brethren here in the States. A, it's paintball content you can watch on YouTube, I believe. So anyone who knows any different, if I'm incorrect there, I just know that I've always been able to watch the European matches on YouTube, which is really cool. So let's make sure we get those views up for Major League Paintball and our European counterparts, please. B, I attended the European Championship last year in France, and I have to tell you, the European fans are incredible. Every team over there has a paintball fit Houston Heat type base, and they are very vocal, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It's incredibly entertaining. But C, most important, is the real reason why you should watch. Several NXL names will be over there bringing their skill set to the matches. So let's go ahead and break the brackets down real quick, and we'll comment rather on some of the recognizable names. So in bracket A, obviously the favored team for this event has to be Scalp. They won every single event last year. And not only that, they never lost a match. They played 21 matches. They won 21 games. Led by my friend Vincent Lemetier, right? I always try to talk French when I'm around him. He makes me that way. But they're certainly the team to watch. Pretty sure they have Malloy back for this event. So that's going to be it's going to be a tough team. Finishing out the bracket A, PP Arena Pilsen of Czech Republic, London Attrition, I believe it's Manchester Firm, and then Drugs Frankfurt. Now, real quick, London Attrition. Interesting note here. They have Jason Wheeler, formerly of Russian Legion fame, along with Brandon Rittinghouse, formerly of Tampa Bay Damage. Now, little interesting tidbit here. Rittinghouse and I actually played against each other many moons ago at a GFOA in 2011 in Georgia, America, not Georgia, Russia. Anyway, he played for a team called Divinity, and I was on a subset of a prime team called Win by Murder, and that was a lot of fun. We both ended up in the finals, and of course, Divinity walked away with it. So it's kind of interesting. Manchester Firm, they just picked up a coach who actually played with me at World Cup in 2016 on Prime from Germany, my friend Felix Mueller, as well as I think they got Hugo from the Tauntauns. So that's going to make that bracket pretty interesting. Let's see. Bracket B, Lucky 15s, Joy Division, Gladiatori, Unocusano. I think I said that right. Of course, I better. It's my countryman. Outrage, and Offenburg coming at you. So who's the new Lucky 15s? I had heard this team had hung it up after the last, event last year, but here they are. So I'm not so sure who we have here. And of course, they haven't listed anyone on their roster on the APPA, so I can't tell you what's going on there. Then there's the storied name of Joy Division. It's always a team you have to take seriously, especially when they have my boy Harrison Fry playing for him. So good luck, Harrison. Wishing you the best of luck over there, friend. Gladiatori has Aftermath's very own Grayson Gladstone, fresh off his win in the Premier Division this past weekend at the WCPPL. So congratulations, Grayson. Good luck with Gladiatori. Outrage is a French team with Axel Godin's older brother, Bryce, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's playing with them. So that'll be interesting. Now, I think it's safe to say that the fifth tier team definitely needs to be paid attention to here, right? So you got coming at you, has Todd Adamson coaching, Ryan Hoskinson of Aftershock playing, Mark Johnson of AC Diesel playing, and I think they just picked up Thomas Taylor since he's technically a semi-pro player now. So this should be a rather difficult fifth tier team. Yeah, probably. Bracket C, Breakout Spa, Ala Warsaw, 5-star, Section, and LTF. Breakout Spa, coached by my friend and coach of Tampa Bay Damage, Kevin Brethauer. Not to mention they have Chris Shear as well. It appears they're running a roster of 6, so Chris will be getting his cardio in. Ala Warsaw. Listen, I became a big fan of this team last year when I was in France with Team USA. This team has 2 sets of brothers, not one, but 2 sets of brothers on it. One of which that got on my radar real fast. Matter of fact, I called him the Spartan because his number was 300, but I'll probably butcher his name, but Franek Wisbicki. This guy is a tenacious, bloodthirsty snake player who's a lot of fun to watch, okay? They're coached by Randy Stanzik, so they're also, but there's more. They've also got Meter Ninos. Goodness gracious, that team's going to be exciting to watch. 5-star is from Spain. I know these guys. They had Daniel Camp of the Hurricanes guest with them, along with 2 Royal City Sea Dogs last year. Looks like they're rolling with just all Spanish players this event. Team owner and captain, Mr. Lecheros, is a good dude. I enjoyed speaking with him last year, so best of luck to them. I don't know much about Section. I know they're French, and I know LTF is French. That's about all I know about those 2 teams. So, Bracket D, Ron Holt Dynamite, Austin FSU, Paris Camp Carnage, Ranger Warsaw, Ballistics Göttingen. Now, this is a bracket, okay? Ron Holt is a dynamic team to watch and was a top 10 team last year in Europe. Obviously, they also came over and played at World Cup this year in America. Austin FSU, if it's anything like the team last year, they should be very competitive. I don't know. Can't see their roster other than the 2 Americans, Zach Carter and Mark Franz. Will be cool to see Zach out there again, back out on the field. He was a player last year with the American Pros, Austin Notorious. showed tremendous potential. So best of luck to Zach getting back out on the field. Carnage, you never know what you're going to get with them. A great 2023 season, not so great 2024 season. Let's see, Ranger Warsaw. I got to speak to their team captain, and I think Ryan helped them out a bit during the offseason with some calls, like some Zoom calls. And of course, another tier 5 team to watch is Ballistic Göttingen. They won the semi-pro division last year in a pretty dominant fashion. A first place, a second place, and then a first place at the championships. Looking forward to see how these guys do. Should be fun. Great group of guys. All right, so that's our professional division at the Portugal Invitational. Without too much data regarding the programs, I'm going to have to call it with the following teams basically coming out of each bracket. Here's where I'm landing just based on what little I know at this time. Out of bracket A, I got to call Scalp. And I'm going to give the edge to PP Arena as well. So I'm calling those two coming out of that bracket. Out of bracket B, Joy Division and Gladiatori. Sorry, Luckies, you guys aren't sharing anything. I don't know enough about what the new Luckies look like and who's coaching and who's playing and what you guys are doing. So, though I got to say, Greeny represented well in Tampa with Aftermath. You guys should be proud of him. Greeny's a baller. Out of bracket C, Breakout Spa and Ala Warsaw. Out of bracket D, Ron Holt and Ballistics. Mixing it up with the calls in B and D. So let's see how well I do. All right. I'm not going to get too much into it past that. We've already been on here. Tonight is my oldest man-child's 21st birthday. So I'm going to get off a little early. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to sit down and have a late dinner with him and talk about his dreams and aspirations of being a 21-year-old. All right. That's it for tonight, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. This episode has been brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or a regional league, contact Charles today for contingency details. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it on the show. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Darren Cessna, Kevin Fillers, Alex Sorensen, and Tom Cole. In the memorable words of my friend Ryan Gray, y'all be responsible.